NFC you! NFC us! NFC us! Let's be special! Let's feel strong! Let's feel great! From the top!
You want me, the heart of the city's in the Superdome. We got black and gold, and we make them say, make them say,
All right. I don't know how well anybody heard that, but yeah, so far for what, 7 weeks now, nobody beat them Saints. Once again, we had a fun-filled weekend watching the Saints win. And I'm telling you, Sean, that game was like watching Alabama versus Weber State. I've never seen a total and complete domination of a game like this with 6 touchdowns on the ground, nearly 300 yards total offense, 300 yards rushing, not even total offense, 472 yards total offense. If you would have told me Drew Brees goes to Buffalo, throws for under 200 yards for no touchdowns, no interceptions, there was no way on earth I would have said, well, we beat them guys 47-10, but that's exactly what we did. So welcome to Under the Dome, everybody. That we're enjoying this winning streak, and we hope it extends this Sunday against the Washington Redskins. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, with my sidekick. Well, you should have seen the other name I had for him before that, but this is a family show. I have my partner here, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean? You doing all right tonight, Sean?
Well, man, heavy is the head that wears the crown, but 7 in a row is nice. I really, I'm digging this ride. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring our podcast, and we want to invite everyone to join us not only on Facebook on the Under the Dome podcast page, but also subscribe to our YouTube channel and on iTunes. If you will all take a gander here, I am much against my better wishes, but hey, anything for the fans. You will notice that I haven't shaved as I normally do. Everybody talks about the big no shave November thing, and want to make the announcement that in support of our very good friend of the show, Miss Donnie Lambert, but also in support of a very, very close friend of mine, a guy that I grew up with who was recently diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, Dr. Tyrone Tucker. I'm going to go all the way through November, and I'm not going to shave. And by then, my face will be raw because I spend 95% of the time scratching just like this, and the other 5% is on the other side. But hey, it is what it is. As long as the Saints keep winning, things like that are absolutely bearable. We want to welcome you guys to the show tonight. What can we say that hasn't already been said about the trip to Buffalo? We knew going into this game that it was supposed to be a very good matchup against 2 highly touted teams, and I never opened my mouth, and it looks really easy to say this in hindsight, but looking back, I watched the Buffalo Bills in their Thursday night matchup against the Jets prior to playing us. And I thought that the possibility, however remote, that the Bills may have been somewhat overrated, especially their defense, when I saw what the Jets were able to do against them. But by no means did that translate into me taking the matchup with the Bills lightly. I knew that we could play with them. I said a week ago that priority number one would be taking Shady McCoy out of the equation and forcing Tyrod Taylor to have to beat you with his arm. Lo and behold, that's exactly what we saw. Shady had that one run early in the game, and after that, he was virtually non-existent. The Saints defense comes through again in fantastic, in a fantastic way. But more than that, this offense did something that heretofore has never been done. We made team history. Of course, I'm not going to say that we've never had two running backs to top 100 yards rushing in a single game before, but you have to go back 9 years, 2006, when Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush both did it against the Giants, to find that even remotely comes close to this. Mark Ingram continues to just blow people away. I don't think that it's outside the realm of possibility to insinuate that Mark Ingram right now very easily could be back in football. And that's not being a homer. That's just looking at reality. Alvin Kamara continues to impress. And actually, when you say that he continues to impress, that doesn't give him even remotely enough justice for the job that he's doing on the field. And I'm like Alan said a moment ago, me going into this game that the Saints would score 47 points and Drew Brees would not throw a touchdown pass, I would have told you were absolutely nuts.
You're getting to I think it was 1957 with the Cleveland Browns, the last time a team scored 6 touchdowns on the ground to win a game. I might be off by a decade, might have been 1947, but regardless, it was the Cleveland Browns that did it. So we were talking about Jim Brown territories. That's why I think it was 57, Jim Brown. But we're talking Jim Brown territory, okay? And of course, that drive, that 10-play, 95-yard drive, where it was a run on every down, and they weren't just getting like 4 or 5 runs a carry; they were getting 10, 9, 10 yards a carry. Drew Brees said at one point they never got to a third down situation. So there was never a call coming into the headset, hey, we might want to look at throwing this ball here. This was definitely that broke the Bills' will to live, essentially. When you see Zach Line, the fullback, up the gut, and these weren't even trick plays. These are just up the gut plays and, in the B gap between the guard and tackle. When you see Zach Line picking up 8 yards, just coming through the A gap or coming up the gut with Ingram, he's getting 7 yards before somebody touches him. Kamara got one play, I think it was, he bounced to the outside. The hole was so huge. He came through, slipped, fell down, got back up, and ran for another 5 yards before somebody touched him. And then, Drew Brees' touchdown, the final play of the drive, you have Teron Armstead just totally destroy some poor linebacker, and Brees just ran it in. So, yeah, this was a complete and total domination. I was a little worried at first. Josh Hill fumbled, in retrospect, that was such a minor play, but it was 7-3. So, there was a possibility that the Bills could have gotten back into it. But it was this is the part of the defense that we are not used to seeing. You get that one drive where Buffalo was actually moving the ball, got in field goal range, got 3 points, and then never got another first down until Nathan Peterman comes in the fourth quarter in garbage time, essentially. They're stopping Tolbert twice on third down, third and short. It's such a complete team effort, and you're losing players. Kenny Vaccaro doesn't even make the game, the trip for the game. AJ Klein gets knocked out in the first series with a sprained ankle. We'll find out tomorrow if he practices at all this week. But he leaves with a sprained ankle. So you got Manti Te'o, who is essentially a two-down linebacker. He really is. He's not a coverage linebacker. But he comes in and actually plays very well for a team that was going to have to rely on passing to get back in this game. Shady McCoy, like we said last week, becomes a non-factor in the game. You put the whole game on Tyrod Taylor to win, and he doesn't have the weapons. Kelvin Benjamin aside, he doesn't have the weapons really to push that ball downfield. And he certainly didn't have the offensive line to protect him long enough to push that ball downfield. I mean, Alex Okafor was in the backfield almost every play. Every time he dropped back to pass, it was his scrambling ability kept him getting sacked more often. So, yeah, this is a very enjoyable 7-game win streak. But we're having to deal with the buts right now because some of the detractors, even though the Saints technically are, the 2 or 3 seed, if the playoffs started today, I think I saw 3 seed because we have the same record as the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
But, if the playoffs start today, we're in that top echelon of teams. But the buts are coming in because they're saying, but you didn't play any really good quarterbacks. The only quarterback you played that was worth a damn was probably Matthew Stafford, and he was practically immobile with an injury, or Cam Newton, and Cam Newton was just coming off of injury, so, he wasn't 100%. So I get that. I get the buts. But what we are seeing, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with this, Sean, what we're seeing, though, is a development of a personality. This team can play both the Madden pinball, we're going to drop 52 points, throwing the ball all over the place kind of game. And they can also play the frozen tundra, muddy, rainy, sloppy kind of game where we're going to run the ball 24 straight times. And we're still going to be able to move the ball. We're still going to be able to score on you. There is no. Go ahead.
The only thing that concerns me at this point is the fact that we've continually gone with that running game. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about winning. I don't care if we spike the ball every time and walk away with a 3-0 win. As long as this team keeps stacking W's, that's all that matters. At the end of the season, there will be no asterisks on this game isn't as important because Aaron Rodgers had a broken collarbone, and this game isn't as important because you played a Chicago team that was only making their second start, and this game isn't as important. That doesn't matter. At the end of the season, the only thing that matters at all is how many that you've won against how many that you've lost in comparison to the rest of the teams in your conference. I don't concern myself with any of those buts. I understand them, as Alan alluded to. Believe me, right now, I told someone earlier today this. I'm not looking at number 1, number 2, number 3 seed in the playoffs. I'm not looking at the team that we play in week 13 or 14. Things that concern me week to week. There's the team that we're playing, And as per my position with this show, the team that we play next, because I have to guest that represents the team that we play, although we don't always get that, but you see my point.
Mm-hmm.
That this team and followers should absolutely and 100% focus on is what's going on right now. What do we have to do to beat the Redskins? What do we have to do to beat the Rams? Anything beyond that, it'll come to you. You don't have to go to it looking for something. It's going to come to you sooner or later. And now, if this team loses its focus, crystal clear about this. If this team loses its focus right now on this day, hey, we absolutely are in a position to be 7-9 one more time.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to happen because the talk. I was going to say the way this team is talking, the way this team is carrying themselves, they are carrying themselves like we have a lot to prove, and we still have a lot to prove. We haven't accomplished anything yet. My thing that I know what you're talking about, where it feels like we haven't played that complete game because it feels like, Drew Brees is kind of an afterthought. We kind of want to see that, 350-yard, 3-touchdown pass kind of game, a 4-touchdown pass kind of game to kind of balance out the running game. But I think what the Buffalo Bills did, and this was rather startling, the Buffalo Bills really never sold out against the run. No matter how much we were running against them, they never really stacked the box to try and stop what the Saints were doing. Almost every time they went to pass, the Bills stayed in coverage. They dropped 7 in coverage and only rushed 3. Because there was lots of times that Brees had plenty of time and they couldn't get to him, because it was only 3 guys rushing. Michael Thomas had 117 yards, I think, receiving. Very quiet game because he wasn't in the end zone. So they played a very balanced game. It just doesn't feel like we really have that passing game on track yet because we're not scoring touchdowns through the air, and it's a very unsettling feeling for some Saints fans, including myself, because you worry, and probably unjustly so, but you worry that if they stop the run, are we going to be able to throw the ball enough to beat somebody if they take that run away from us? But
that's the point that I was trying before I started chasing rabbits with my comments. Yeah. That was the point that I was trying to make. The only thing that concerns me at this point is that we get so far away from we're able to do in what we are able to do that when the time comes that we have to reach and go for that thing that we know we've got in our toolbox and it's not there.
Well, you've seen Ted Ginn have a good season so far. Ted Ginn's about to is on pace right now for a career year with the Saints. We've seen Michael Thomas do what he does. So I'm not as worried about that. I would like to see it happen just because I want to put the fear of God into the entire league, because I think that's the difference between us and the Rams or the Eagles, for example. I think people feel that they're a little bit ahead of us because they are throwing and running the ball very well. But you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. He didn't forget how to throw the ball. He was throwing for probably his career record or career year a completion percentage. So it's there. It'll come. But we've made a concerted effort to run that football and stick with the run. And that's something that Peyton's reputation has always been, that he doesn't stick with the run. Even when it is working, he gets that itch. And like Bill Parcells, his mentor, used to say all the time, you get that itch, you get that drive to start doing stuff that you really you don't need to do right now. You just do which is working right now. And I've been seeing Alabama in college football is on a revenge tour. They felt like they deserved to win that national championship last year, but Steve Sarkisian and Jalen Hurts just didn't execute right for them to win that national championship. So they geared this entire season. They're geared towards getting back in the playoffs and winning that national championship they felt that was owed to them last year. Well, I think the Saints this year, Peyton has a philosophy or in his head right now, maybe from talking to Parcells, but has a thing in his head right now that I've got to show that we are going to be able to run the ball. We will run the ball in any kind of weather, no matter what the score is, how successful we are. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to prove that we are successful running the football, and we will beat you with the run. We can beat you with the pass, but we want to show that if it's cold weather, if it's on the road for the playoffs, if it's in Seattle, in Minnesota, you name the place where the Saints are, in Philadelphia, you pick the venue where the Saints are going to have to play. They are built to play that game, and they can win that game. We'll play it any way you want to play it, and we will beat you at it. And I think that's what you're seeing as gearing up for that postseason run. This team is showing you that we can do that. We can play that game. And, if we just did what we did in 2011, throw the ball over the field, blow teams out, everyone's going to say, well, yeah, you're a dome team and you need to be in the dome to win. And if you get put outside and the temperature drops below 40 degrees, you can't play that kind of game. And if they get physical and nasty with your receivers, then you can't do anything. So that's how I'm looking at these games. It's a personality that Peyton is trying to create, an identity that he wants to create that we can win both ways. So we'll see this Sunday. We'll see against Washington if they stick with the run or if they start throwing the ball over the place. Because Washington's 19th against the run, I think. So yeah. It'll be an interesting challenge.
Segueing into our next segment here, don't really concern, or I misspoke. As concerned with the Redskins, and I hope none of the Saints are watching, but I'm not as concerned with the Redskins as I am the Rams. But that being said, the Rams are a week away. Right now, the only thing that matters is a team that this team has never beaten in the Superdome before. And if you think back to, 3-4 years ago when we played this rotation before, our last outing versus the Redskins as one of the two low points of the Sean Payton era. And just for reference, you go back to, quote unquote, the Brandon Browner year.
Yeah.
The game with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins that year, I consider that to be the absolute low points of Sean Payton's tenure in New Orleans. Make no mistake, they have a gunslinger in Kirk Cousins, and I'll be completely honest with you, he scares the crap out of me. He is able to go 2 yards. He's able to go 60 yards down the field. I'm not that familiar with the team. I haven't done the research on them that I did prior with Buffalo. I don't get the sense that he has the weapons around him necessarily to what he's going to have to do against this team to win. And most of what I'm getting as far as vibes around this game is that the Redskins are really, really beat up. take that to mean that this team isn't going to stand up and fight. They're not going. They went into Seattle and won. They're not going to be impressed by a crowd that makes a little bit of noise in the Superdome. They're going to come, and they're going to come ready to play. And this team is absolutely going to have to keep up the work that they've been going for 7 weeks now to get the job done.
Just so everybody knows, the last time we beat the Washington Redskins, in fact, the only time we beat the Washington Redskins in the Superdome was in 1992. We have never beaten that. I'm sorry. That's the only time we've ever won in the Louisiana Superdome against the Redskins. We beat the Redskins under Sean Payton one time. That was 2009. That was the
Robert Meacham game.
Robert Meacham game and the overtime. And prior to that, Hazlett's team beat him back-to-back years in 2002 and 2003. We lost in 2006. We lost in 12. We lost in 15. The Brandon Browner game. Yeah, it has not been good. And prior to our win in the Superdome in 1992, the last time the Saints beat the Redskins at home was in 1973 in Tulane Stadium. Yeah, so that is the Billy Kilmer era. That was the Saints head coach was John North, and the Redskins head coach was George Allen. So, yeah, you're talking a long time ago.
But would you like to hear a nice omen, though?
What's that?
What number did Kilmer wear?
17.
What number are you wearing tonight?
Hey, that was deliberate. 17. Yeah.
All right.
It was deliberate for two reasons: Kilmer and also 2009, the Robert Meacham game. But yeah, I mean, we don't play the Redskins that often, but we have a record of 8-17 against them. It's not a good, not a good record at all. Including Sean Payton is only 1-4 against them, or 1-5 against. No, 1-4. 1-4. They played 5 times. So yeah, it's ugly. So yeah, I'm not overlooking this game at all. This is the kind of game that the Saints could lose if they're not focused. And hopefully this team, I get the feeling that every game they're focused on. Every game they know they have to win this. They have to make a statement out of it.
As crazy as this may sound to some people, the youth movement, this team not being that far removed from the college game, where one game at Ohio State, that takes you out of the national championship picture.
Yeah.
Up until recently, anyway. But the college mindset among these players has got to be prevalent, and I think that makes a major difference in their approach to how they're going into these games.
I agree. I can agree with that, because I think they see the light at the tunnel. We're still not respected, or they feel like we're still not respected. But like in the college game, to get in that playoff system, they're going to look at your total record, and you've already lost the 2 games you can afford to lose. You can't really afford to lose another game, because the Eagles have only 1 loss. One of the teams that has the same record as you has already beaten you in the Minnesota Vikings. And the Rams coming up, that is a team that is in your way to getting that number 2 seed, at least a number 2 seed. So you've got to beat them. And the Redskins are not out of the playoff race. So every team you face for the rest of the season, except for the Jets and Tampa Bay at the final game of the season, are teams that are in your way to make the playoffs. So yeah, the playoffs technically starting now for the Saints. Because
and not only making the playoffs, but where you're seated in the playoffs, which goes all the way to determining whether you're playing at home or you're going to Seattle and playing.
Well, even beyond that, you want that first or second seed because now you only have to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, not 3. And we have seen that when the Saints have only 2 games to win, it's a lot better for them playoff-wise. It was a lot better when they got to the NFC Championship in 2006. Of course, we won the Super Bowl because we only had 2 games to play in 2009. Whereas in 2013, you had to play that wild card round. In 2010, you had to play that wild card round. In 2011, you had that wild card game you had to play. That's 1 extra game. And in 2010, we lost that game. In 2011 and 2013, we won the wild card game. But then the divisional game, you really became worn out by that time because you wanted to have that extra week to recover from all the little nicks and stuff, all the little injuries, the nagging injuries, to get yourself geared up to play. You want that extra bye week. So, it's absolutely this next after the Redskins game, and I'm not assuming we're winning and losing anything, but game, we're looking at the 3 most important games of the season, all back to back to back. The Rams, the Panthers, and then you turn around and play the Falcons in Atlanta. Megatron's butthole leaking aside, you have to play in. I'm sorry that place.
They cannot go to a live feed in the new Atlanta Stadium that I don't think about you, man.
Oh God, it's so because. Who designs that? It looks like it did. The first time I saw it, I said, there's 2 things that thing looked like. Either an origami, because that whole Chinese takeout box design they gave this thing. And when it showed that roof closed, I'm like, my God, that's a sphincter. I'm watching this thing close up. It should be the Atlanta proctologist playing in that game, not the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh my goodness!
John's going to love this. John's going to have so many things to write about. There's 3 things he learned from under the dome. But yeah, you play those guys on Thursday night, so you play on a short week. You go to Atlanta, so that really means. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not. The Saints Carolina game and the Saints Rams game have been both kicked to 3:25. Now the Rams game is already at 3:05 because it's out in LA.
Yeah,
but the Saints Panthers game has been kicked to 3:25. So you're playing a late game on Sunday.
Also,
that gives you Sunday night to rest. Well, let me just say this real quick. It gives you Sunday night to rest. You have to have a practice Monday and Tuesday. Essentially, probably a walkthrough practice Monday. Practice on Tuesday. You travel on Wednesday to play on Thursday in Atlanta. So, that's really tough. That's 3 games like that close together, that important. It's going to be really tough on this team. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Also, the game with the Rams has been flexed not only time-wise, but it's also been moved from Fox to CBS as well. Which, hey, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I'll take Tony Romo over Troy Aikman every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Old Horseface is not kind to the New Orleans Saints.
Well, I can listen to Jim Nantz far more, and I can listen to Joe Buck rambling on and on and on. I am so thankful that in 2009 CBS had the Super Bowl. Because I wouldn't be able to take listening to Aikman and Buck call that game. It just would have driven me crazy. But
I actually like Buck. I don't care that much for Aikman because in his heart of hearts, he's always going to go back to being a cowboy.
Yeah.
I don't get that sense from Romo. I really and truly, I've listened to several of Romo's play calls since, and he really does a fantastic job. He does not show any bias. I actually listened to his call of his first Cowboys game. I forget. I think it was Cowboys Giants, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I listened to his call of that game, and it was right down the middle. I appreciate that. You know, I understand that you shed blood for those colors, and your loyalty lies there, but a large segment of America depends on you to put that aside and be professional about that. And see, I know people consider me a New Orleans Saints homer. I don't see it that way. I sit here and I try to pull the positives out of everything that I can. New Orleans Saints have sucked. I've told you, hey, they sucked. They did not play well. They did not execute. My fandom, if you want to call it that, never enters into it. I am a professional at what I do, and I call it right down the middle. I may not be as poignant as some. Fire the coaches, trade the quarterback. I don't. But my point is, I prefer over Troy Aikman. So that flex, as far as networks go, that didn't really bother me too much. Concern that I have, and Alan, you played at the highest, well, the second highest level.
I held that. I stood around in jeans and a jersey. I did not play.
Well, you know, you were there.
Yeah,
you were a player, is my point, and you know what I mean by what I'm about to say. Players become creatures of habit. The only and I told our buddy Jerry earlier today, my only concern with this flex schedule, every game in this 7-game run that we've done, off. And you get yourselves into a rhythm, you get yourselves into a schedule. Flexing these games towards the end of the year, you get out of that, something new, something that you have to change. The schedule comes out in April. You have all of this time to set your schedule to to achieve what it is that you want to do. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to, in the midst of preparing for this team over here, you got to change your entire schedule and scheme for this team over here in a different time slot, in a different. I would prefer. Shoot me. I would prefer if we keep things the way that they're supposed to be. I want this team to continue not only winning, but dominating at the level that they have been. All of these changes they may not affect it much. This much can be this much. And that's a concern of mine.
I think what you'll see when the Saints play the Falcons and the Saints play the Rams, you'll see a lot of a similar game plan for both games, and that's one way they can play on this short week. The good news, and this is why the NFL Network and the schedule makers make these Thursday night games mostly divisional games, is because of the familiarity with your regular opponent. So it's not as much prepared work. You don't have to. It's not like you're going to play the Jets on a Thursday night, where you really are not familiar with that foe, and you really have to go in there and look at a lot of film to see what they do, because you don't know really what kind of team that is, because you're focused week to week to week. Whereas at least with a divisional game, you're pretty familiar with who you're going to see because you've already played them once. So I don't like Thursday night games. I never have. Thanksgiving aside, because that's tradition, and I like having football on Thanksgiving Day, I've always felt that the NFL needs to get rid of the Thursday night games, except for Thanksgiving, and you give the teams that play on Thanksgiving a bye on that Sunday, so they actually have time to recover and play. So, yeah, they get another mini bye with those 10 days, but you're actually going to get a higher quality game on a Thursday because that team hasn't just played a game the previous Sunday. So that's just always been my opinion on that. And I like having, a morning game, a afternoon game, and an evening game. That's, it's a whole day of football. One thing that's always bothered me about Christmas is there's not a football game on Christmas. It's basketball. I'd rather watch football on Christmas Day. But
absolutely,
that's a topic for another time.
I love Thursday night games. I wouldn't change a thing on it. As far as the 2 weeks prepper, I don't care about all of that. You guys are paid professionals. Do your job. And of course, I don't have ESPN. I don't have NFL Network. I'm not getting Monday Night Football. I don't those games that they black out of CBS and NBC depending on deal. I don't get those. But plain and simple as I know to put, I'm a fan of this sport. I'm a fan of this game. Any game, any day, any time that I can get, I love it. And I know that there's a lot of people that feel that way. Now, I believe that over the 2, 3, maybe 4 years that they instituted the Thursday night football deal, I know that they've had to tweak it somewhat to get to the point where they are now, where they're getting the favorable matchups that they're getting this season. This season, we're 10 weeks into the season. Maybe 1, 2 games this entire season on Thursday night football that were just absolute blowouts.
Most of them are. Most of them are blowouts or just terrible games. They're not nearly as sharp as they usually are on a Sunday. And, we need to move on, but I just want to say, one of the things that happens is they equated a football game to be in a car accident 3 times or 4 or 5 times just from the beating your body takes. And you need at least 24 to 48 hours to fully recover from this. That's why Monday's the film day, and Tuesday's the off day, and Wednesday's the first day you do practice, and you do another practice on Thursday. Then you have a walkthrough on Friday, and if you've got a home game, maybe you do something on Saturday morning. But it's just that's just a pet peeve of mine. I like watching football, but I like watching quality football games. So that's just how I see it. People have been asking about the 2017 season and this Saints team and comparing it to another team. And some people are saying, okay, let's look at the Super Bowl team. 2009, you came out with a 13-game winning streak. You got turnovers. The defense looked pretty good. Some people are saying maybe 2006, you start out 3-0. You get a loss against the Ravens. You bounce back. You have a couple of losses. You end up 8-4 when you go to play the Cowboys and have the big game against Dallas. Finish the season off 10-6. You're second seed because there is no dominant team in the 2006 season. And you end up playing the Bears in the NFC Championship game. So what Saints team can you compare this to? Some even say the 2013 season. I don't like comparing that one because that season I feel like we had those games against Dallas and Seattle where we got our asses totally kicked. And And I think this team got their ass kicked early in the season, but has played better ever since. My comparison, and our friend John Butler at Last Word on Sports has already beat me to the punch, but my comparison would be the 1987 team, the team from 30 years ago, the woulda, coulda, shoulda team that had the strike season and finished the season because we had a strike and we lost one game, finished the season 12-3. But went on a 9-game winning streak. I see a lot of comparisons to that team in the sense that we're beating teams because certain guys are missing. Like, in 1987, the Rams trade the Colts to trade Eric Dickerson to the Colts. The week before, we play them and we beat the crap out of them. The New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor had never missed a game, gets injured the week before. We play them. We dominate that Giants team, and that's the defending Super Bowl champion. You see a lot of that this year. We don't get Aaron Rodgers. We get Brett Hundley. We don't. We play a battered Cam Newton that was not quite up to snuff. We played a Matthew Stafford who was an immobile statue. So, that team also, that 87 team also benefited from a strong running game, block punts, a good defense that really that was the first year really of the Dome Patrol. The first year you really saw what a Saints defense could be. So that's what I see. I see a hungry young team aggressively trying to make a statement and turn everything around. I just don't see any Sean Payton team that is the same as this. Do you see that?
I think that's quite appropriate. And my comparison with, for example, the 2019. I think that what you said is very appropriate in the main reason being this team is doing it at now we still have a long way to go in this season, so there's so much yet to be determined, so to speak. But up to this point, they are not doing it in a way that any team under Sean Payton has ever done it before.
Yeah. Now,
that being said, they're getting it done. They played a Minnesota team that they could have. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they could have beat Minnesota. I think that they should have if they had done as they should have done. They then faced a New England team that was prime for the picking as you will ever catch New England coming into your house. I think the Saints should have skull drug the Patriots when they played them. They didn't handle.
You hate Tom Brady. That's because you hate Tom Brady.
Yeah, hate is statement. Anyway, but ever since then, you put Rip Gadget in the lineup, and you're undefeated.
There you go.
But my point is, they're doing this you're not getting a half of turnovers that you turn into pick sixes or return fumbles for touchdowns a la Darren Sharper. You're not doing it that way. You're not having Drew Brees pound another team into submission the way that he did a lot of those teams in 2009. You're getting just enough. You're getting Mark Ingram going over the 100-yard mark for 2 consecutive weeks. You haven't had that since Deuce McAllister. You're getting Drew Brees throwing for 100 yards to Michael Thomas, but he doesn't have to make that 2 or 3 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter to make this team get back into position to win. You've got a defense. They may not be creating a ton of turnovers, but they're limiting the other team's big play potential. Like I said from the onset, end of the season, there's not going to be any asterisk beside we didn't play against Aaron Rodgers. There's not going to be an asterisk next to the Chicago game because only starting his second professional game as the starting quarterback. There's not going to be an asterisk next to the Matt Stafford because he was injured going into. The only thing that's going to matter after week 17 is how many have you won and how many have you lost. And any team in this league that is worth their salt at all will tell you that all that matters is you play the one in front of you, let the chips fall where they may. You do the absolute best that you can to win that one and move on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. There in some ways it is close to the 2016 in the way that we've been winning, but the defense is a lot better than 2006 defense. We won in spite of that defense sometimes, not because of it, whereas now we're winning because of our defense. And that's why I can only go to the 87 team because that's what it feels like. As far as the excitement, with this winning streak of just building towards an inevitable playoff spot, but you've got to win those next 3 games, these next 4 games. Like I told you from the outset when we talked about it in the preview of the season, the team that goes 4-2 or better in the NFC South pretty much has the division won or is going to be in the playoff race. We're 2-0 right now in the division. Two games are coming up, and that's 4. We should sweep Tampa Bay because I think by the time we play Tampa Bay at the end of the season, regardless if we're playing backups or not, I think Tampa Bay has fired their coaching staff. I think their players are packed up, got their shit in the locker room in suitcases, ready to roll out of there. They are going to be looking forward to playing that game like, you would go in looking for a root canal. You're not – they're going to be playing up the string. That team is done.
Well, a lot of people are going to sleep on the Carolina Panthers right now, and I would strongly advise against that. Most every year we split with them.
Yep.
We've already got 1 win. And
Yep.
I'm going to tell you right now, the Saints are only half a game up on Carolina.
I know.
Playing, they may not be setting the world on fire like they did 2 years ago.
No,
well enough to keep.
They're
winning.
a dangerous team. They're a dangerous team. I mean, my understanding, they lost Curtis Samuel now for the year. So that puts even more pressure on Delvin Funches and I think they got a guy Shepard on there who's going to have to be that number 2 guy. But, Cam Newton can go hot and cold. I've said all the time, if you want to affect the Carolina Panthers, you want to stop the Panthers, you've got to hit Newton and you've got to hit him often and make him get antsy and inaccurate. Every time someone's gone after Newton, you hit him, that's when he gets wild with his throws and he gets high and short and way overthrows people, and he's just not as accurate as he normally is because he's looking to get rid of the ball or looking for the rush. So, yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about them later, but,
yeah,
the Carolina Panthers are a dangerous team. Luke Kuechly makes that defense go. If he's not there, it's a totally different defense than when he is there. You're not running all over that team if Luke Kuechly is playing at a high level. You're not running over that team. He is there.
If
But
you'll look back
he's-
over the history of us against Carolina,
Mhm.
team has Kuechly on the field as compared to any time that we've played them without Kuechly, that is a completely different team.
Absolutely.
Offensively, defensively, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
Any time that we play Carolina with him or without him, all games, always.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's not the same team. He is the heart and soul of that defense. There's no way getting around that. When he's not there, suddenly that middle is very spongy, very soft. And you've got no one who can run sidelines. I mean, Thomas Davis tries, but he's not Kuechly. And to me, with a crippled passing attack or an injured passing attack, I shouldn't say crippled. It's going to be more important than ever that the Saints keep Cam Newton in the pocket, hit him, and box in Christian
McCaffrey.
I could not think of his name to save my life.
He was almost a Saint, man.
Yeah, I know. And that was an interesting debate. I've been following people talking about, who's better, Kamara or McCaffrey. And to me, it all depends on who's, if you put McCaffrey in the Saints offense, he's more deadly than or just as deadly as Kamara. And Kamara in Carolina's offense isn't nearly as good. It's just a philosophy. Sean Payton knows
I'll go a step further than that. I think that all you have to do is look to that other not prodigy Marshawn Lattimore, but look at the other first-round pick of the New Orleans Saints in Ryan Ramczyk. And by that, I'm alluding to the play of the line. And I think that all things considered, first played great. Anzalone, before he got hurt, was doing fantastic. But the very linchpin this team this season has to be Ramczyk.
Well, and we'll go back to the Bills again. That game with, that Buffalo game, you finally saw that offensive line, the offensive line of your future, all together, playing together, probably for the first time, I think, since the Detroit game. Maybe, yeah, I think it was the Detroit game was the last time they were all together. And lo and behold, you had an incredible running game. They were just blowing people off the ball. So yeah, it took a while. And like people said, and I said this on draft day when we drafted Ramczyk, people want the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, not that crap that you saw against the Falcons. I'm talking about the healthy Dallas Cowboys offensive line. People want to see that offensive line, but they don't want to draft that offensive line. They don't want to be patient and draft those guys. I mean, Armstead was a 2013 pick. Pete, 2014. Ramczyk, you made the trade in 2015 for Unger. And 2016 and 2017 is when you drafted Ramczyk, and you brought in Warford this year as well. So, it took several years to build this offensive line to the level it is now. That is key to being a great offensive team. It takes time. It takes 7 to 9 seasons, but you finally get to the point where you have a good young team that you can go out there and win some games with. So real quick, in the last couple of minutes, I know you say you didn't do much research on the Redskins. We've been talking about them a lot tonight, along with the Bills game. What do you think of the keys to winning this game Sunday?
I think you're going to have to get in and pressure
Yep, I would agree with that totally. Cousins.
You're going to
Cousin.
They're going to live and die by and if you don't shut him down, he's enough of a gunslinger a la the closest comparison that I can make is the same type of mold that Brett Favre came from. Not the Brett Favre that was in that supersonic Green Bay offense. I'm talking about the Brett Favre of the early Packer years, the Atlanta Falcons years, when you didn't necessarily have to worry about him winning a division, but you did have to worry about getting on the same field with him and him beating your brains in by ad-libbing game.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins, you can't go to sleep on your receiving core of Terrell Pryor and that rookie. I'm sorry, his name escapes me at the moment. Defensively, I don't see a whole lot that really makes me nervous. But of course, as we all know, you're going to have a as close as it gets to healthy Junior Galette, motivated to make a statement against his old team. I hope he has a severe hangnail when he comes out of the locker room. And that's as politically correct as I can be about that.
Hakeem Hicks went to have a big game against the Saints, too. He got 1 sack, and that was it when he was with the Bears. So, we got to trust this offensive line and keep Breeze clean. And, several people have said, run a Galette all game. If he wants to try and rush the passer and have a big play, let him meet Mark Ingram and try and tear down Kamara, and good luck with that.
To be completely honest with you, there's nothing about the Redskins, and I'm saying this Tuesday prior to game day on Sunday. Now, I didn't feel this way by any stretch of the imagination at the beginning of the season, but on this day prior to game day, there's nothing about the Redskins that says to me that we are sweating losing this game. But make no mistake about it, by no means at all am I saying that they are incapable of beating the New Orleans Saints. I will not say that. Team on any given Sunday, blah, blah, blah. If the Saints continue to focus the way that they have over the prior 7 weeks of this season, they should absolutely be double-digit winners over the Redskins.
My keys for the game here is, number one, fast start. I like it when the Saints don't win the toss. Oh, no, I take that back. I like it when the Saints win the toss and defer.
Yes.
I like getting the ball in the second half. I don't know what the statistics are for the Saints when they get the ball in the second half, what the winning percentage is, but it feels good to me. I like getting the ball, scoring right before the end of the half, getting the kickoff, scoring again to bury your ass. I enjoy that. But my thing is a fast start again. If we give up that which we seem to do in some games, give up that first drive where they actually get some points, limited in field goals, don't let them get confident, and go right down the field when the offense gets back out there and score a touchdown, get those guys in the hole early. Wear down that Redskins defense. Josh Norman is probably going to be following Michael Thomas the whole game. So, expect to see some Ginn Jr. I'd like to see Willie Snead make an appearance. He was out there. I saw him a lot out there blocking and in motion and things like that. But I'd like to see Willie Snead actually have a game, be that guy that is beating that nickel or dime cornerback. Of course, Kamara and Ingram get those guys going. I think they can get some yardage against this Redskins defense. I don't think if they're 100% healthy, I don't think they're a good matchup for our offensive line. On defense, though, we need to take away the run, make Cousins beat you with his arm, but keep him in the pocket and hit him often.
Yes.
Get him off his spot, make him throw and make mistakes. Cousins is a bit of a streaky passer within a game. He can go cold for a long time and suddenly get hot and start hitting everything.
Well,
I think
as badly as we lost in Minnesota in week 1, these guys played with Minnesota a week ago. So don't think that this is going to be just a walkthrough.
No, I mean, that Minnesota game is a great example. Minnesota got on them early. I mean, Case Keenum threw 4 touchdown passes against them, but Cousins got hot, and Cousins started throwing the ball well again. You have to make Cousins make those mistakes, those turnovers, those, make him feel the pressure. He's looking at the rush as opposed to trying to make a big play. You do those kind of things, and you should win this ball game. I think we do win this ball game by double digits. I think we beat them by at least 10. I just feel like this defense that dome is going to be rocking Sunday. This defense will be playing with so much confidence. I think Marshawn Lattimore, they're going to try and test him, and they're going to go at him, and he's going to make a play. I would feel better if I knew that Kenny Vaccaro was coming back to play in this game. I'd feel better if I knew A.J. Klein was coming back to play in this game. Because I think those two guys are key. Because Vaccaro is not only your extra linebacker to stop the run, he's also the guy that when they go to the 3 safety sets, he plays a lot of coverage on tight ends. Jordan Reed is not healthy. I don't think Jordan Reed's playing. So it'll be a good matchup for Vaccaro as far as the Redskins tight end. I don't even know who the Redskins running back is. I honestly don't know.
I don't either. The only thing that I've been able to find out is that Jordan Reed is supposed to be hurt and not available. Right.
And
he was what just brutalized us the last time we played.
Yeah, so you're going to have our old friend from the San Francisco 49ers, who beat us in 2011, Vernon Davis, as their primary receiver running as a tight end. I'm looking for that running back's name right now just because I don't know who it is.
Now, they have one player, I want to say he was from Tulane. He's injured, and he's not going to be available on Sunday.
All right, Kelly.
Kelly. He's not going to be, as I understand it, he's not supposed to be active on Sunday.
Yeah, Rob Kelly. So we're looking at Chris Thompson probably is the primary back, and he's a quick one, so got to be careful with him. But, yeah, Trevor Pryor, Vernon Davis, and Ryan Grant are probably your big receiving threats. The offensive line is okay, not great. So we should get some good pressure on these on Cousins. I don't know. The Redskins are a fluky team, streaky. They can look great for a game. They can look absolutely horrible, and I'm hoping they look horrible in this game. I think they can. I think we can make them look horrible. We'll see. But
absolutely.
We win this game. We've won 8 games. We won't have a losing season. That puts that to rest. We make that Rams game the following week a big showdown game. This is when it gets exciting, guys. This is what we've been waiting for. You want to take that next step to get to the playoffs. These are the games you've got to win, starting with this Sunday. Let's see what happens. Anyway, for Sean and I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Hopefully next Sunday it's now we've won 8 in a row, and we're all about the Rams. So in the meantime, go Saints. See you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.